Hello everyone, my name is Kitetsu and welcome back to my channel. So this article came out yesterday and I haven't had a chance to talk about it until today. But yeah, basically I'm busy tonight as well, so what I'm going to do is try and gloss over this quite quickly, just to get the news out there. You can go and read the article yourself if you want all of the details, but there's also a Stormcast article that just came out too, so if I've got time I will try and make a video for that tonight as well, but let's just see how things go. In the meantime, let's take a look at some of these Nighthaunt heroes in more detail, and this was such a cool article. We've got some amazing new artwork to look at. Just look at how good these two in particular look. This is Kurdoss the Craven King, and this one here is Lady Olynder. Both of these artworks looking absolutely amazing and gloomy and setting the mood perfectly for the Nighthaunts. But that's not all. We actually get our first proper look at the model of Reikenor, if I'm saying that right, the Grimhailer. And we also get to see the WARSCROLLS for all three of these models. That's very crazy for one article, and I was not expecting that at all. It kind of took me by surprise. But the three heroes are actually very interesting. They're not particularly durable in combat. They could probably be killed very quickly and easily, but they also have these kind of unique abilities to them that make them more survivable and just interesting to take on the battlefield. And in fact, they might play better as supporting characters rather than just massive damage dealers. All three of them only have 7 wounds, and all of them have that 4-up save that can't be affected by rend in any way. So they're not massively durable, as I said. But then when you look at Lady Olynder and her WARSCROLL, for example, once per game she can literally just heal D6 wounds, which is great. Or alternatively, if she's at full health, you can inflict D6 mortal wounds on an enemy model. She moves slowly, and I think that's the same for Kurdoss. But Reikenor, if I'm saying his name right, he actually moves very far. I think it's 14 inches. The stat line is nothing to shout home about. She hits some wounds in a decent way, and there's a potential for some great damage output, but it's also very variable and you might not hit many or wound very many. So it's not in combat that her strength lies. But without a doubt, my favourite ability is lifting the veil. And every single hero phase, you can pick a unit within 12 inches and she lifts up her veil. And what is under there is so horrifying that basically she can frighten people to death. But basically, when you've picked that unit within 12 inches, she just does D6 mortal wounds to them. It fails on a 1, which is not too bad to be honest, but that's frightening damage output. If you combined that with the Grave Sands of Time, she could potentially do 2d6 mortal wounds in one go to an enemy model. That is absolutely crazy. It definitely makes up for a lack of damage output up here, and it definitely makes up for her kind of weakness. The great thing though is with the lifting the veil ability, if you actually kill anyone, she heals D3 wounds as well. So she's got 2 ways of healing and 2 ways of doing massive damage. She also makes more models flee when they carry out battle shock tests. And her handmaidens have a shooting attack, which is quite intriguing because it can do D3 mortal wounds based on the bravery of who you're fighting. The lower the bravery, the more likely they are to take damage, which makes a lot of sense. Her magic spell is absolutely brilliant. She can massively hinder an enemy unit by subtracting 1 from hit rolls, and then you are at +1 to hit against that unit, so it's absolutely brilliant. You know, using these at the right time against the right opponent, she is going to carve through them, or at least the rest of her army will for her. Then her command ability is nothing too exciting, but she can return 1 slain model for each summonable Nighthaunt unit within 12 inches. So, you know, it's pretty cool, but not quite as good as her magic spell or other abilities. Then we've got Kurdoss, and as I said, you know, this guy is looking cooler and cooler every time I see him. I think the artwork just totally brings him to life and makes me appreciate how cool this guy actually is. But basically, as he got crowned, Nagash killed him and whisked away his soul to enslave him to his own will. But looking at his abilities, this guy is an absolute beast in combat, and he is the guy who's going to be going straight for the enemy general because he's got loads of abilities that help him out there. Again, not many wounds, but these 3 abilities here are absolutely incredible. With this ability here, basically he has a 1 in 3 chance of stealing an enemy command point when they generate it at the start of their hero phase. Essentially, you're getting a third extra command points right from the offset, taking this guy into your army, and your enemy is losing a third. So that is a pretty astonishing ability right there. On top of that, if he rolls a 6 for his scepter for the wound roll, then that does d6 damage instead of d3. So his potential for damage is huge, especially when you combine it with the rend and the fact that he is making 5 attacks. In fact, this stat line is exactly the same as Lady Olynder, I think, but he's making 5 attacks with the scepter instead of 3 for her staff. But also, if you are attacking an enemy general, he is re-rolling failed hit rolls. So yeah, he's a very good character for getting straight in there and attacking the hard to deal with characters. Lastly, we've got Reikenor the Grimhailer, and he is such a nice model. I absolutely love it. They've basically just taken one of the new horse sculpts and they've added some Elder Scrolls horse DLC armor onto it with these awesome candles on his head and obviously a scythe there too. But the scythe actually gives him the same abilities as the Grimghast Reapers, which is pretty nice. He's basically more effective if he's attacking larger units. Same stat line but moves very far. Obviously he flies like the other two. His damage output is not particularly great. You definitely want him attacking hordes and weaker units, maybe backed up by some Grimghast Reapers or something like that, because otherwise he's going to be missing quite a lot of his attacks. But the 2 damage is quite nice nonetheless. His best ability by far is the Corpse Candles one, and basically every time he casts a spell he can choose to snuff out one of his candles, and if he does so he can either suffer a mortal wound or he can make an enemy unit within 12 inches suffer a mortal wound instead. If that mortal wound goes onto an enemy unit, then he adds 1 to his casting rolls. If the mortal wound goes onto himself, you can add 3. Now that's pretty astonishing, because it means if you really want a spell to go off with him, you're almost guaranteed for that to happen. But he knows a unique spell as well called Wraithstorm, and again it's very good for attacking horde-like armies with 1 single wound, because if you successfully cast it they take d3 mortal wounds, and if a single model is slain then they immediately take another d3 mortal wounds. So if you're attacking a fairly weak unit, then he will definitely be doing 2 d3 mortal wounds worth of damage. But that is the article, and in terms of when we can get our hands on them, Lady Olynder and the Battletome will be available to pre-order this weekend. Reikenor and Kurdoss are going to be available soon afterwards, so we don't exactly know when. But yeah, they look fantastic, and I don't want to go on too long, so I'm going to leave this video here. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell icon so that you know when my videos come out, and otherwise I will see you guys really soon.